I wanted to get to brass tacks about producing cut and sew garments. When I run into clients, this is kind of the same conversation that happens. So you do have really two options when we're talking about true cut and sew garments. So anything that needs to be pieced together. So this is literally custom cut and sew garments. Apart from people that do kind of couture lines or that sew together one-off collections that are like signature pieces that are handmade, I'm not really talking about that. So if you came from Phenom and if you want to do runway, you want to be like Vera Wang, I'm not talking about that kind of production. I'm talking about any kind of production that has a brand that sells to any kind of mass, retail, or boutique, anything that you need to replicate and do mass production for. Doing mass production for garments, you really have two choices. You can go locally. Now, I'm in California, I'm in San Diego. There's some resources in San Diego which would probably be similar to some other cities in terms of trying to find seamstresses to make samples, but you'd really be piecing those things together. I know there's chop shops and production houses in LA for a fact, and in New York in certain spots. Those are obviously two major markets. However, the other option is doing mass production abroad, meaning in Asia. Mainly, I've worked with production that's overseas. So any company that really can afford to do to meet the minimums, I really try to push going overseas production because they can do A to Z. Their quality is unmatched and their prices are unmatched. If you can play that game, if you could get your numbers higher and higher and higher, then your margin can grow bigger on the garments, and it just becomes a better process back and forth. Once you start doing that, you can gain a better relationship with your vendor, and just really learn, start tweaking and tightening up the ins and outs of what that is. Now, going back to the first option, I've worked with a few companies that piece garments together. One of the biggest challenges about doing piecing garments together locally, sometimes they're big enough to say they do all A to Z, but they're really subcontracting is what they're doing. Anyone that's kind of really piecing their garments together is going to have to take the goods from one house to another, or sometimes you can have them do it, as I said, but then they're going to charge you because what they're doing is they're getting the fabric cut in one place, and then they're taking back pockets to get embroidered or hit at another place, or taking, all your knits and constructing them, then taking them to a wash house, and then bringing them back to another place to get finished, meaning they're getting bagged and tagged and that sort of thing. So I can't even begin to tell you how much work it is, how much coordination it is, and how much time it's going to take. So if you think you're ready to go into cut and sew, and the big plus for going local is that you can do smaller minimums. So if you must do smaller minimums and you really are dying to put together a jean or put together a jacket or a hoodie, whatever it is, and you go local, I just want you to be aware of some of the pitfalls or challenges. It's literally a coordination nightmare. So be prepared for that. Otherwise, I really am a big advocate of doing production overseas. China is really good on a lot of the categories. There's some categories where it's cheaper to do in India, or Vietnam does some pretty good manufacturing, and there's a lot of other places, but China has really done a lot of really good work for decades. They're tough to beat in certain categories. Now, this is a spread gun. I'm just saying this for your typical streetwear brand or skate brand going in that direction. I hope that brings some clarity, and I'm going to get into another video that I'll link to this that talks more about mass production overseas. Hope that helps. Any questions that are specific, drop them. You already know.